Hi, Bill.
Who's that? Who just said hi, Bill?
I think I'm the one who just said hi, Bill. So.
Oh, Robert. Hi,
Yeah.
Robert. How are you?
Hi, Bill. How are you doing?
Very good. I'm just seeing your name light up. So.
Yeah, I was trying to test my video. So, is that good?
Yeah, there you are.
Oh, good. All right.
So, what we'll do is the very beginning, when I start the actual webinar, we're going to take just 2 more minutes, and then everyone can just go around and just say hello. Just say hi and your name. That way we can test everything out. And then I'll turn it over to Hugh. I'm going to actually make a few announcements, and then I'll turn it over to Hugh. So 1 more minute. And as before, this is being recorded, so if anything were to occur that you got disconnected and couldn't reconnect, then I will put the recording up a little later today, along with the PowerPoint. All right, it's the top of the hour. I'm going to just 1 more minute. We'll start as soon as the next person joins us.
Bill, are you able to tell where that background noise is coming from?
Yeah, somebody's got some really good background noise going on, so everyone should mute their mic until they're ready to speak, please. Thank you, Andrew. There it goes. It went away like magic. Oh, now it's back like magic. All right. We have pretty good critical mass here. We have, how many we have? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13, 14 people. That's excellent. 15 people.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, it's working, but
so you all probably see something a little different on your screen, but what I want to do is just have everyone, if you want to say hello, we're just going to go around and say hello. This is Daniel, and I'm in Paris, wherever you are. Why don't we
ask everybody to mute their microphones?
And then once you've done introducing yourself, please mute your microphone. So why don't we start with you, Daniel? Tell us your name and where you're located. And then we'll go on to the next person.
Hi, everyone. Welcome on board. I'm Daniel. I'm located in Kampala.
Okay, thank you, Daniel. Now you can mute your mic, please. Go ahead, Caesar.
Hey, everyone. I'm Prudence.
Go ahead, Prudence. We can hear you.
Hi, everyone. This is Caesar calling from Malawi, Southern Africa.
Welcome, Caesar. Next person.
Nice to see you again.
Good to see you.
Hi, everyone. Prudence in Swaziland.
Hello, Prudence from Swaziland. Welcome. Please mute your mic.
Hello.
This is Zawadi?
Hello, I'm Zawadi Mashik. I'm located in Kenya, Nairobi, Kenya.
Okay, welcome, Zawadi.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Faith.
Hello.
I'm today.
Hello, Faith, and where are you today?
I'm good. I'm now in Kigali in my office.
Excellent. Okay, thanks. Please mute your mic. Who's next?
Hello.
Hello, Sabina.
Hello.
Go ahead, Sabina. Introduce yourself.
Hello.
We can hear you.
Yeah, my name is Sabina Maeke from Tanzania.
Welcome.
And I'm here with Damas.
Hello.
Hello, Damas. You are with her.
I'm Damas Damian from Tanzania.
Excellent. Wonderful. Glad to have you. Who's next?
Hello.
Go ahead, Ngoza.
Hi, I'm Ngoza Banda from Zambia, Kitwe, Zambia.
Welcome, Ngoza. Everyone, please mute your mics if you're not speaking. Okay. We have a couple more people that haven't introduced themselves. Christopher, Abby, Kia,
Hello.
Kinkin.
Hello, yes, I'm Kinkin. I'm from Myanmar, especially Rakhine.
Welcome. We can hear you all the way from Myanmar.
Yes.
All right. Anybody else want to introduce themselves? Otherwise, we'll move on.
Hello.
Hello, Abby.
This is Abby from Kampala, Uganda.
Welcome, Abby. Good to hear your voice. All right. Anybody else?
Hello.
I'm going to introduce myself. This is Andrew.
Yes.
And I'm based in Nairobi, Kenya. Good to be with you. Thank you.
Good to see you, Andrew.
Hi, everybody. I'm Hugh, based in Germany.
And I'm William, or Bill, based in way out in New Hampshire, USA.
Hello, I'm Robert, and I'm in Kigali.
Welcome, Robert.
Hello, I'm Jose from Tanzania.
Excellent. Thank you. All right. Well, welcome, everybody. As I said, this is being recorded. It's our second webinar. Let me give you some quick announcements, and then I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Hugh. First of all, for those of you that have been working hard to catch up on your past work, please continue, because from here on in till now to the end of November, we have a lot of work to do, and it's going to be like a locomotive, as they say. Keep on moving at a clip that's faster and faster, and at a steady rate. And if you're behind, it's going to be hard to catch up. So please, any outstanding assignments you have, please go back. You are required to participate in every discussion and every assignment. Everything is being marked. We actually even have a new feature that I want to point out. After every webinar, you can see on the modules page, after each webinar is a certification. And it just takes a minute to open up a document, state that you were at the webinar or that you viewed it at a later date, and then you post that, and that accounts for your assignment, and you'll get the grade for attending the webinar. Otherwise, we don't have any other way to verify that you were at the webinar in terms of the grading system. So please make sure you do that after every webinar. Go in, open that document, or create a document and post the document to that homework assignment. If you have any questions about that, let me know. So I also said this in an email that you need to maintain a 65% grade average in terms of your completion of assignments, and in order to get the certificate of achievement from the SMDP. So please stay up with everything, and if you have any problems, any questions, any issues, there's 3 of us to help you here, particularly as we start wading into the MIS itself and Hugh starts setting everything up. There'll be some potential challenges, and it's very important you let us know very early if you're having trouble so we can help you right away. If you wait until the last minute, till the next module is going to start, it's going to be much more difficult for us to help you, and you're going to be behind. Those of you that are still due payments, I would appreciate if you would catch up on those payments. I've sent everybody an email if you still have outstanding payments. And in some cases, I've asked for acceptance forms. If you've already paid or you've acknowledged your scholarship by an email, I still need you to complete an acceptance form and send it back to me. MasterCard needs that in order to verify that their funds have been used for you to be a part of this course. And the last thing, as far as your certificates, when we have determined at the end of November that you have successfully completed the course and have attained the 65% grade, then we will mail these to you. I'm going to be asking you via email of an address either in the United States, Canada, or Europe, or the UK, so that we can mail your certificates to one of those addresses. That's the easiest way. It takes anywhere from several weeks to not at all to mail things to most locations in Africa. So unfortunately, we want to try to find a address we can send you your certificate where you're definitely going to get it through your NGO or some relative or something like that. So just pay attention to that. And the last thing I want to say is that we also, from here on in to the end of November, we have 7 more webinars. So we're basically going to be cramming in a lot of webinars. We will, Hugh and I will be working on the schedule for exactly when those webinars are, and we'll post them in announcements. We'll also send you an email, but you should diarize those into your calendar so you know they're coming, and that way you won't miss anything. If you do miss something, as I say, we are going to record each one of those and post them, but it's always better to be here live so you can interact with Hugh and Andrew and be able to be, and your fellow students, and be a real part of it. So, all right, enough for me. We appreciate all your hard work on this course. As we said in the beginning, this is a pilot for us, so it's exciting for you to all be on our maiden voyage, and please give us feedback. Let us know in any way that we can improve the course, or if you're not able to do anything, let us help you out. So with that, I'm going to turn off my camera and my mic and turn it over to Mr. Hugh.
Okay, everyone. Here we go. Okay. All right, now just make sure everyone can see my screen, I hope. For those of you who are from Rwanda, that's a picture of a savings group in Rwanda, about 30 minutes out of Kigali. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off by pointing out to you that we have posted on the site. This is Module 3, Webinar 1, and there is a background document which you can open, which is a Word document. And I'm going to show you what that looks like right now, although I'm not going to go through it in a lot of detail. Just see. Right, here we are. Now, I think I told you in the last webinar that we have a full manual. It's 112 pages long. But instead of giving it to you all at once, you know that if you eat everything all at once, you end up with indigestion. So we are giving it bit by bit. And this particular part covers the basic MIS and Project Basic setup. Now, if you remember, in the last webinar, we talked about 2 key people. We said that the MIS is created by an MIS administrator who creates the MIS and then creates projects. You can have more than one project in an MIS. And once that creation is done, the work is handed over to the project administrator. And this particular document here talks about basic setup. And it says this document is only a part of the main manual, which will be provided in full at the end of the course. And this section is shortened to the essentials from this module. So you'll notice it starts off as 2.4. So 2.1, 2.2, and 2.3 are excluded, and everything in here talks about the process that you have to go through for a setup. Now, let me just go back here, sorry, a second, okay. So our goal today is to take you through the setup process so you know the information that you need in order to set up a project before you actually go through the setup process. So I have a PowerPoint, and I'm going to be going through that. And then what I'm going to do, God willing, is I'm going to be setting up an actual project. Now, before we carry on, you should be aware that I sent every one of you a username and password for a what do you call it? For a hold on, let me just go here. There we are. For a Gmail account. So every one of you has a Gmail account, and we have on this list here, we have the name, we have your personal email, we have the MIS name that you will actually name the MIS. We'll just be calling it SMDP 1, 2, 3, 4, according to your name. Then your role will be MIS administrator. This will be your login identity here is going to be the email address that you have for Gmail and the password. So these two are really important because you cannot set up an MIS without having an email address which is dedicated to the MIS. You can't have more than one MIS on an email. If you try to do so, it will be rejected. So this is a dedicated email specifically for the MIS, which you will be using. Okay, so all of you, I think, have received this. There are 23 people, including me and Andrew, who have received this. So just be sure that you know what your email address is. I believe most of you have, in fact, tested it. Okay, right. Let's actually go through. Let's go through now to the PowerPoint that we're using. Okay. I have to switch screen. I hope we're not going to run into the same problem we had last. Oh, come on. There we are. Hold on. It doesn't want to allow me to get. There we are. Swap. Okay. Now I believe you can see the PowerPoint. Okay. So what is this PowerPoint all about? Well, it's all about how to set up an MIS and its first project. Bear in mind, when you set up an MIS, you must create the first project. You can't create an MIS without it. Okay, so what information do you have to have before you can start? You have to assemble the information that you need. So you can't just switch on the computer, start it up, because halfway through you'll say, oh, I don't know this or I don't know that. So it's important that you're clear about what it is you have to collect. So here we are. You first of all have to decide on an MIS name that is as informative as possible. For example, Maendeleo, Tanzania, VSLA, MIS. This talks about an organization called Maendeleo in Tanzania, and this MIS deals only with VSLA. So by looking at that name, it tells the user of the system quite a lot. You also have to create a unique email address that will be your username. So in this particular case, we're talking about the organization saying, right, I'm going to create an email address called mandeleovsla@gmail.com. All right. Then you have to have a password for that. And in this particular case, I've said progress VSLA. Bear in mind that what I'm showing here is not the same as the ones I've sent to you. This is just as a real world example of what you might have. All right. Then you need to be clear about the name of the organization that will be running the MIS and creating projects. Now, if you're a facilitating agency like CARE and you're working with a partner and you're setting up the MIS in a partner, CARE's name doesn't need to appear. You just have to have the name of the organization that will actually be operating the MIS on a day-to-day basis. Okay. Now, the next stage is very simple. So you have to note the name of the organization that will be running the MIS. Let me just go back a second. Okay, name of the organization. This is a duplication. Sorry about that. Okay, right. I was a bit confused about that. Okay, notice this is not the name of the project. You need to note the country. Okay. And you need to note the currency. Now, this is a bit strange because if you select Tanzania, you will find that the system will automatically come up with Tanzania shillings. But if I'm in a country, for example, like Zimbabwe, where you're using dollars, pula, rand, and Zimbabwe bearer notes, you can have several different currencies. Now, the problem here is that an MIS must be in one currency. So if you're in Zimbabwe and you're working in US dollars, you have to have an MIS that deals in US dollars. But if you're in another part of the country where they're using rand, you have to have a separate MIS there, which is designated in rand. You can always create a network to bring them all together, but bear in mind you must have a single choice of currency per MIS. Right. Now, assemble project information. This is step 3. Okay, the previous ones were step 1 and 2, but this is step 3 on MIS, on setup. Step 2 is only an advisory note. It simply says, okay, what follows is such and such, but it doesn't ask you to do anything. But then it asks you for some particular details. You want to note the name of the first project that will be set up on the MIS. So let's say, for example, I'm CODET in Tanzania, okay? I may have a project called Banking on Change. So it would be CODET would be the implementing agency, would be the ones that's setting up the MIS, but the project would be called CODET. This must have a unique name. Now, on the last webinar, I said that you can have a single project, but you can create them as 3 separate projects or more so that you get a sense of what is going on in different parts of the country. So let's take CODET. We could say CODET has Banking on Change in Mwanza, Banking on Change in Ifakara, and Banking on Change in Iringa. Okay, so you create them as separate projects. Okay, and you need to be clear about it. So, for example, here we have CODET Tanzania. This is the name of the project, the name of the organization, country, the project, and the location. So this helps you to clearly see what you're looking at in terms of multiple projects. So thinking through the names you give projects is really helpful so that it's very clear at all levels what it is you're looking at. Okay. Now, then we come on to some optional stuff. You note the name of the donor, but only one donor can be included. And this comes on a drop-down list on the MIS, but you need to know what it is beforehand. Note the name of the facilitating agency. Now, let's say, what do I mean by a facilitating agency? These are people like CARE, Plan, Oxfam, CRS, World Vision, doing savings group work in many, many countries. Okay, these might be an agency that are working with you, but you are actually running the project and you're running the MIS. But if you're receiving technical assistance or finance from one of those organizations, you can select them as a facilitating agency, which will show up on a drop-down list. Now, one thing I should mention here is that when you look at the facilitating agency, those are fixed according to what we have already created. And donors also, but donors, there are sometimes new donors constantly popping up. All you have to do is send me an email saying that the name of the donor is not included, and I can then create it so that it becomes part of the drop-down list. Now, what is the implementing agency? This is an agency that is actually doing the work in the field. So here, for example, let's take CODET. I've talked to you about CODET in Tanzania. They're an organization that received technical assistance from Plan as the facilitating agency. They themselves are the implementing agency, okay? And they received financial support from various donors. So this is the one that's actually doing the work, you know, the people who are sending out the field officers, who are gathering the data, who are training the groups. So sometimes it can be the case that a facilitating agency is also an implementing agency. So in some countries, for example, you may find that World Vision, which is a facilitating agency because it works in many, many countries, mostly it is the agency that is doing the actual work on the ground. So you might choose World Vision as the facilitating agency, but the implementing agency would be World Vision Tanzania. So you need to just decide who is the entity that is doing the actual work. Right. Now, the other thing I should point out that these are all optional. The implementing agency is also optional. Right, now you need to assemble additional information. Project description. Now, when you decide that you're going to show your project results on the SAVIX website, not the SAVIX MIS, the public SAVIX website, you want people to know what your project is all about. So you can give a short sort of 40 or 50 word description, which allows people to know what your project is all about. If you don't put a description there, nobody who visits SAVIX will know anything about your project. Now, another one, project other services. What we mean by this are other activities that your project is undertaking which are not savings group activities. So for example, it may be you're doing agriculture, it may be you're doing health, it may be you're doing small enterprise. So when you talk about other services, you don't talk about savings group, but you talk about the other activities that your project is undertaking. Okay. Project locale, this is kind of straightforward. This just means what type of area are you working in? Is it rural? Is it urban? Is it both? Is it peri-urban? And so on and so forth. And then you put in the name of the MIS administrator, okay, created by. In most cases, this will be you. So you would put your name because actually you are the one today, at least, or in the next few days, who will be creating an MIS. All right. Now, then we want to assemble information on project users. So these are project level credentials, okay? We've already got the MIS level because you have to set up the MIS in the first place. But who are the people who are going to be the project administrator and maybe, if you want one, the data entry person? So we have two types. We have the project administrator and the data entry officer. Now, if you remember, the project administrator and the data entry officer, they can both enter data, which the MIS administrator cannot. The MIS administrator just sets up the project, but the project administrator is responsible for completing the project setup and entering data. And that's usually, you will sometimes have a data entry officer for a very big project, but that is optional and you don't have to have one. Yeah, project administrator can also enter data. Okay, now the credentials that are used, they are not an email address. The MIS administrator has an email address. So it could be like hugh@vsla.net with the password Amadeus1. But as a project administrator, it could be Joseph with the password 123123. So there is no need for an email address for the project administrator or the data entry officer. Now, here's an important point. These credentials are unique to this project, by which we mean, if you have more than one project in an MIS, okay, you have to have a unique username. So a unique username and password combination, okay? The password can be the same, but it's a good idea if the username for the project administrator is different project by project. Okay, so for example, we can have a project administrator who is working in more than one project. So you could then have a username which would be Michael1 and the same person in the other project, Michael2. You just need to make sure that your credentials, your usernames and passwords at the project level are unique to that project and not repeated in another project. Because if you have the same username and password, the system will not know which project to go to. So make sure that those are unique. Okay. Now then we have custom settings. This is stuff that you can change at any time. So the custom settings relate to the project cost and how long the project is going to be working for. So the total project cost. Now, this is the cost of a project in local currency, not in US dollars, unless your local currency is US dollars. But, for example, if you're in Tanzania, it should be Tanzania shillings. If you're in Zambia, it should be Zambia kwacha, and so on. Now, this includes all of its setup costs and planned expenditure from start to finish in the future. So let's say you have a project which you're starting today and you plan it to end in 3 years' time. you have to put down the figure you expect to spend. Okay. It could be that you're working with a project that started, let's say, 3 or 4 months ago. You still put the start date as the start date, and you put the total budget of the project from beginning to end. Now, it can be that as time goes on, you get an extension and you get more money. So what you have to do then is you have to go in and change those figures so that you're looking at a new length of project, beginning and ending, and a new budget, which is the total of all the money you've spent in the past and in the future with the new grant. So you just need to be sure that if your project starts on a certain date and it ends on a certain date in the future, then how much do you expect to spend? Okay. So the project start date, this is the date the project started its work, but it could be you start to use the MIS after a project has been running for a while, and the date should be from the actual start date. And project end data, this is the date that you planned the project will end, and it can be updated if the project is cut short or if it has an extension. Okay. Now, then the next thing is decide if you're going to put your information on your project to the SAVEX website. Automatically, the system says no. It's not normal to put projects on the SAVEX unless they are mature, unless you're fairly confident that you have something you want other people to see and that you're fairly well advanced and the characteristics of your project are known. There's not much point in putting your data on the SAVEX if you only have 3 groups. But if you have 150 or 200 or 300, then it's worth putting it up there so that donors in particular can see what's going on. Okay. Now, once this is done, the user saves this information. Oh, I'm afraid there's something missing there. And it says, and a summary page will appear. Okay, and that summary page I'll show you later. Right, now, once you've done that, you've finished your job as the MIS administrator. Okay, you've set up the project, you've given people you've given it a name, you've put the name of the organization, the name of the facilitating agency, you have put the budget for the project, and so on and so forth, and you have decided, will it go on the SAVEX website? Now, with the SAVEX MIS actually needs you to put in the names of the people who are going to be trainers, okay? And the reason for that is because if you are going to type in the name of the trainer every time you enter data, there's going to be typing errors and it will not be consistent. So what we do is we create a table of trainers on the MIS. So when you enter data and you want to put the name of the person who is doing the training, you simply click on a drop-down list. So that's not something that the MIS administrator will necessarily know, because maybe the MIS administrator is on the other side of the country. But the person who would know that is the project administrator, who would actually be on the project site. So before we can get going and start to put in data, we have to put the names of the trainers in. So the SAVEX MIS sets up a table of trainers, identifying them by name and by status. You have 3 different levels of status. You have their name, and then you have supervisors, field officers, and village agents. And supervisors are people who are supervising field officers, and field officers are people who are supervising village agents. Now, you have those 3 categories. One of them you must have, and that is mandatory, and that is field officers. These are people paid by the project, go out and create groups, and also to recruit and train village agents. Some projects don't have village agents, they just have field officers. Some projects don't have supervisors, but they have field officers. So as long as you understand those 3 levels, supervisors are people who are making sure that field officers are doing their work, and field officers are people who are creating groups themselves, but also identifying, training, and supervising the work of village agents who, for the long term, will be carrying on the job of creating groups. So This means that when the data is collected on the data collection form, the name of the trainer is written, and it will automatically show up on a drop-down list to avoid the need for typing in their name every time their data is collected. So there are 3 steps. Enter information. That's why I say there are 3 steps in creating a table of trainers. If you have supervisors, you start off with supervisors. Put their names in. Secondly, yes, of course. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Connecting a sensory parish in Chebe sub-county to Nangoma parish in Nangoma sub-county.
Can you hear that here?
No, I can't really hear it at all. It's very unclear.
Who is speaking? I'm trying to find out here. Sorry, we can't quite make you out.
And you made this in 2013. Your Excellency, they also rose concern on the poor states of the central and district roads, citing Kachenga, Kadapari, Kiputa, 30 kilometers.
So,
Chibida, landing site, kilometers.
I'm sorry, I can't understand a word. Bill, can you put that?
That actually sounds like something else. It sounds like somebody is tapping into a different
okay,
event.
It sounds like somebody, so it's coming out of the microphone that says JA1164. They're all just joined, had connection problems. Okay, let me talk to that person via chat. You can go ahead, Hugh.
Okay, let me go back to the PowerPoint. All right. Let me just put it up again. Can everybody see? Oh, no, I need to do the switching around again. Okay. Right. So getting back to the table of trainers. As I say, you must have a field officer. You do not necessarily have to have a supervisor, and you do not have to have village agents. But most programs have all 3. And the whole point about their names is when you enter their names, you also link them to each other. So you will link field officers to the person who is supervising them, and you will link village agents to a particular field officer. And I will be showing you how you do that later. All right. Now, so that basically is that is the actual situation. Now, in the rest of the PowerPoint, now this is how you set up your MIS as the MIS that we're going to be working with. And I'm not sure that we need to go through this in detail, but it is offered to you as something you can look at once we have finished this webinar. So you will all be setting up the same MIS, except the MIS will have a unique name. You've already received your credentials we want you to use, acting as MIS administrator. These show up as in the following example. So username is smdponline23@gmail.com. The password is unhonline23. Each one of you will set up an individual MIS using the same name, but with a different number suffix. So, for example, we can have SMDP online, MIS, SMDP online 21, SMDP online 22, SMDP online 23, and so on and so forth. Okay? So you'll each set up, it'll be the same MIS, but it will have a different title in each case. Okay, so the name of the MIS will be SMDP online followed by the suffix number. Okay, thus the following with my personal credentials, these are mine, for setting up the MIS in its first project. The name of the MIS will be SMDP online 1. My login identity will be smdponline1@gmail.com, and the password will be unhonline1. Each one of you will have exactly the same, except the number at the end here, the 111, will be different. according to what I've already sent you. Right. Now, the name of the MIS. Okay. As I say, the name of the MIS is going to be SMDP Online, followed by your number. We've already covered that. The username will be as we see here, and the email password will be as in UNH Online 1, UNH Online 2, etc. Country settings. Okay, the organization name that you will be setting up will be called Maendeleo Tanzania. The country is Tanzania and the currency is the Tanzania shilling. The project name will be Maendeleo VSLA Hanang, which is a district. It's a district in Arusha region. The donor is DFID. The facilitating agency is Plan International, and the implementing agency is Maendeleo Tanzania. Okay. Now, the project description, this is a fictitious test project for the purpose of illustrating setup, data entry, and reporting for a new MAS and first project. Other services will be agriculture and health, and the project locale will be both rural and urban. And then the person who creates it will be whoever you are. Use your own name. Now, the project credentials for me are going to be, for project user credentials, we can all use the same ones here because we're doing different MISs. Call the project administrator Padmin1, project administrator 1. The password will be 121212. And then we have a data entry officer who is going to have a password of a name of DEO1 and a password of AB. Then you have to have total project cost. Here I put 350,500,000 Tanzania shillings. Project start date, 1st of July 2018. Project end date, the 31st of June 2021. So a 3-year project. And then we will not be sharing data with the SABIC. So that takes us through to the end of setting up the MIS. But if we then have to set up the project, and we have to create a table of trainers. And I'm showing you here, this is the easiest way of showing it. We have 2 supervisors, so their names will go in first. Then we will have the field officers' names, Julia Majara, Rispa Amolo, and Peter Kimani, Majuli Kimarai, Pion and Ganga, and Siglal Olorion. And then below them we have, in the case of 3 field officers, they are supervising a total of 7 village agents. Okay, so that is basically how you will be doing. So if you go back through here, these are the specific instructions on how to set up an MIS and its first project. However, I'm going to break out of that now. You have that as the PowerPoint, and you can refer to it. Although some corrections are needed to this PowerPoint. Let me just now quickly change screens. What seems to be happening here? Bill, am I sharing screen? Okay, right, now let me go here.
Sorry, you were not sharing screen yet.
I'm trying. I'm going to stop sharing. Now I'm going to start again. Okay. Share screen. Okay, let me go to this screen here. Okay, I hope everyone can see this screen. Can you see my screen now, Bill?
Yes. Okay,
good. Right, now, what I have done for you is we have created an exercise, which is the assignment to set up an MIS yourself. Okay, sorry, wrong one. I need, this seems to be the wrong, no, here it is, good, okay. So there is an assignment which is for you to actually go and create your MIS, And it takes you through the steps again, and it gives you a summary here of what it is you are expected to put in. And wherever this is specific to you, notice what we said here. The MIS username will be as per the credentials emailed to you, as in SMDP Online 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. And the password is UNH Online 1, UNH Online 2, etc., etc. So those are specific to you. Created by is use your own name. And that's all. Then we have here the chart, which shows how these things are all laid out. Now, after this webinar, this will be made available to you so that you can either look at the PowerPoint that I've just shown to show how it's done, or you can refer to the assignment rubric or the assignment that I have written for you. So either can do, but the assignment I think is the better one to use, and you can print that out and use it as your guide. Now, what I'm actually going to do now is stop for a moment and ask if there are any questions, because, but once I have done that, I'm actually going to go in and I'm going to set up an MIS, in which case a lot of stuff will become clear to you. But if you have any things that are completely confusing, please speak now.
My question is, this is Daniel. My question is, as I practice setting up an MIS, is there a possibility that I can delete it and practice again and again and again?
Yes.
Okay, thank
and
you.
I'm going to show you how to do that. Okay, and you'll be very interested to know that that particular utility was not working until this morning, but it is working now. We made a big fuss and they got it working. Yes, so you can erase the MIS and you can practice again.
Okay, thank you very much.
And I encourage you to do that, because practice is how you figure out what you're supposed to be doing.
Yes, good.
Thanks, Daniel. Good question. Anyone else? Okay, I've bullied you all into silence. So let's move on to the MIS. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create an MIS. I go to a browser. Okay, let me just put it down here. Happen to be using Chrome, and I actually do recommend Chrome because the developers used Chrome as the basic system for creating the MIS, but it does work also pretty well on Firefox, but I recommend Chrome. So the first thing to do is you type in mis.thesavix.org. Okay, so there we have it, mis.thesavix.org. I click on it, and it will take me into the MIS website. And it is going to be immediately confusing. Okay, because if you look at this website, it says MIS name and email. Oh, sign in. No, you can't do that straight away. You first of all have to register. But before you register, you have to select your language. So if you're a French speaker, you click on Français. If you are a Swahili speaker, you click on Swahili. If you're a Portuguese speaker and a Spanish speaker, there you have it. But because I'm English, I'm going to use English. Sorry about that. So I register the MIS. Now, when you do it first, you get a screen which is a general information screen explaining that the MIS, let me just enlarge it, that the MIS is created by an MIS administrator who chooses the country and the currency of the MIS and establishes at least one project. The MIS administrator will assign a project administrator to each project. Most often, the MIS administrators will be located in national office. So if you're in Uganda, it's likely your head office is in Kampala. And establishes one project. But the project administrator will then be assigned, and most often the project administrators will be located in sub-offices near to the project sites. Okay, so that sounds reasonable. So for example, in Tanzania, Ohiki is in Dar es Salaam, but they have projects in Ifakara. So Ohiki MIS administrator is based in Dar, and the project administrator is based in Ifakara. Notice that the MIS administrators do not enter data into projects. And the MIS administrators have the option to establish user-defined fields. These are fields which are non-standard. And this is usually done on setup. But we are not going to do it today because we're going to do basic setup and add user-defined fields later. Okay. All right. So I move on to the next one. Now, here we have to, this is where we actually begin the process of building the MIS, okay? So the first thing you have to do is register it. So in this particular case, if you, and this is exactly what you're going to do, okay? Okay, I'm going to call the MIS name SMDP Online 1. That's me. My email username is smdponline1@gmail.com, and my password is going to be UNH-Online1, University of New Hampshire. So now what I've done is I have actually just put the MIS name and the email address of the MIS and the password of the MIS administrator, and I'm registering it. Okay. Now it says registration email verification required. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to, I can get this irritating bar at the top to disappear. Let me just go to gmail.com. Right. Now, I'm not sure this is the one we want. Let's have a look. Okay, I need to go to, okay, we don't want that. We now have to quit this one. Use another account. And this is the one where I'm using the account which is specific to the MIS. I've got no other emails coming in or out of this email account. It's completely separate from my private or work-related email. So this is smdponline1@gmail.com. And the next screen asks me, naturally enough, for my password, and that is going to be UNH-Online1. And this will now take me into my email address. Oh, what happened there? Sometimes Gmail can be a real nuisance. Okay. Getting too complicated for its own good. Okay, so I'm going to get out of that, and I'm going to SMDP Online 1. Okay. Okay. Sign in. Let's hope this works. NH Online 1. Okay, it seems to want to work now, which is great. Okay, so then you'll notice it says support at VSLA EU. And this is MIS registration. This basically says, listen, you have registered your MIS, but you haven't completed the process. So I click on MIS registration, and there are two messages here because we've done this twice now. Okay, so I'm going to click on the second of the URLs here. All right, and then that will automatically take me into the setup process. Now, at this particular point, I could quit the MIS. I do not have to do anything more. Okay, so it says if I say sign in, okay, Now the name of this MIS will appear. Okay, so I'm going to put SMDP on line 1. So there it is. It's registered. It's registered, but the system has not yet been set up. You could stop at this point. You could go away and have a cup of coffee. You could switch off your computer, come back, switch it on again, go here and type in SMDP on line 1, and then you can proceed to creating the setup. Now, you have an email address, which is the email address which you've used to register. If you and this is what you have to type in here to complete the registration process. tponline1@gmail.com, and then I put UNH online 1. Okay, now it should now take me into the setup process. Okay, so here we are. You see, it's an 8-stage process. So what we do now is I'm going to put the organization name, and this is Maendeleo, Tanzania. I'm going to then put the country from a drop-down list, which is Tanzania. And it automatically puts the Tanzania shilling. As I say, if you want a different currency, like the US dollar, you could put it in there. Right, next. Then this is just information. This basically reminds you that you can have as many projects as you want in your MIS, so long as they are all in the same country and they use the same currency. Right, so we now move on. So what is the project name? Okay, the project name is Leo. Make sure I've got the spelling right there. Tanzania. The country. Sorry, the project name. Sorry. Then we go to the donor, and we have a drop-down list, and this is going to be Department for International Development, DFID. Facilitating agency is going to be Plan International. And the implementing agency is going to be Maendeleo, Tanzania. This is a local organization, and you see there's lots and lots here. Whoops, pardon me. Okay, then this one, Maendeleo, Tanzania. That's my son. I wish he wouldn't call. Where are we? Tanzania. Okay, implementing agency, and you'll notice that there is no, there should be, there you are, Maendeleo, Tanzania. Okay, now, if you want your organization, your local organization registered, and you want it to appear on this drop-down list, you have to write to me and request that it be included as an implementing organization. Okay? And I think you all have my email address. So this enables us to keep some control over the names that appear on this system. So, Maendeleo, Tanzania. Then we move on next to additional information. So here this is a fictitious test project for the purpose of illustrating setup, data entry, and reporting for a new MIS and first project. There we are. Project other services. We say on this list here, we're going to say it is agriculture and health. Then our project locale is rural and urban, and then you put your name down. I'm putting my name. Right, let me go next. Now it asks you for the credentials for the project administrator. So I'm going to say this is Padmin 1, My password I'm going to use here is 121212. Confirm the password. Okay, and it won't accept it, or it shouldn't. Oh, sorry, 02121212. I think that's right. Then we have the data entry officer, and this person is going to be DEO1. And then I'm going to put AB, 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 AB. All right, then I click next. Now we come on to total project cost, which I told you was 350,500,000. The project start date. By the way, when it comes to entering dates, you have to use the full numbers. Like, for example, if it's the 6th of May, you would put 0605. But our start date here is 01/07/2018. And by the way, the date must always be either today's date or in the past, not in the future. You can't set up an MIS with a future date. And the ending date is 30/06/2021. Next. Right, now it says, do you want to share data with the SAVEX? Yes or no? Are you sure you want to share your data? Do not select this option if this is not a real project or if you are not sure. Whoops, do not share data. Leave it as no. Now, that's basically finished the setup process for the MIS administrator. And then you get a summary page. Let me just expand it a bit. Okay, you'll notice that there are two items which are blue. Those are things you cannot change in the future. You cannot go onto the configuration screens and change the country or the currency, but everything else you can change. Anything that's in black, you can update at any point in the future. Okay? Right, so let me just go back. And I'm going to save, and I am done. Okay, and now it takes me into the project configuration page. Now it says I'm signed in as the MIS administrator, SMDP online 1 @gmail.com, and the project, the name of the MIS is SMDP online 1. And down here I have a project. Okay. Now, if I wanted to add a project, in other words, if I want to put another project in my MIS, I would simply click on Add Project and go through the whole setup process again for a new project. And then it would appear below. And if at any time as MIS administrator you wanted to change anything, you just click on the project and then you can edit it, okay? Or you can delete it, or you can transfer it from one MIS to another. You can transfer an MIS from a particular MIS to another MIS, usually because you find that the user-defined fields in one MIS are not appropriate and the project belongs in another MIS. You can also edit the project. Now, if I click Edit, this is where I can make changes to the screen. All of the things you've put in can be changed, except for the currency and the country. Okay? Everything else can be changed. So I'm going to cancel that, and I'm done. Now, I've finished my work as project administrator for the moment. You see, for example, one thing I could do is I could create user-created fields and add standard data fields, but I'm not going to do that because we're just doing the bare minimum setup. I don't want us to mess around with anything now other than just the basic setup. So to get to the project, I have to log out, okay? And I come back here, and to log into the project, I have to use the MIS name. So this is SMDP online 1. And now I use the credentials of the project administrator. So this is Padmin 1. By the way, none of these screens is case sensitive. And now I log in. Okay. Now, this is where it gets interesting. Okay, I'm now signed in as the project administrator. Okay. And before I can enter data, it says data entry here, I have to put in the names of my trainers. So I'm going here, right? And it says groups, in other words, add a new group, or trainers and supervisors. I cannot enter data without trainers. So I put in here, add trainer supervisor, okay? And I'm going to start off, if you remember, I said I'm going to start off with the supervisors. Elio Tieno, who is female, and her role is supervisor. Save. Okay, then I add another trainer supervisor, and this one is Joel Liza. Male. His role is supervisor. Save. Okay, this is going to take a little time, but I think it's worth going through the process so you're completely clear about it. Now I'm going to add field officers, okay? So we have Julia Majara, okay? And she is female and her role is field officer, and then it asks you who is her supervisor. Well, it's Nelly Otieno, okay? And my next one is called Rispa Amolo. And she is female, and then the role is field officer. And her supervisor is also Nelly Otieno. Save. Then we have Peter Kimani. He is a male, and he is a field officer, and his supervisor is also Nelly Otieno. Right, then we now go to the field officers for Joe Eliza. Okay, and the first one is Majuli Kimarai. That's female, I believe. And that is group, then that is field officer, and this one is supervised by Joel. And we go to Peon. Peon and Ghana, female. No, she's a field officer and supervised by Joel Eliza. Okay. And then we have Siglal Lorian. And that one is, I'm not absolutely sure about this, but I think female. And again, it's field officer, and it is a supervisor as well. So now what we have, if you look at the table, we have all the supervisors, and we show who is being supervised by whom. So if I click on here, I can sort this table. At least I should be able to. Just a minute. Okay, right, and I click here. And I've got my two supervisors at the top. I have my field officers underneath, showing which supervisor is supervising which field officers, and they are all registered as active. Now, I'm going to come now to the village agents. Okay, so the village agents I'm going to start off with is Lilian Ndulu. Lilian Ndulu, female, and she is a village agent. Now, the system will then ask you, okay, if they are a village agent, what type of village agent? Well, actually, first of all, it says, who is the supervisor? Well, now, when you're coming down as a village agent and you ask who is the supervisor, it will only give you a list of the field officers. The supervisors are not there because you need to have the name of the people who are directly supervising. So this one is Julia Majara. Okay, and type of village agent, this one is group paid agent. In other words, the group is paying the agent, okay? Now this will take a few moments more, but bear with me because I'd like to get this completed. Okay, and this one is Mike Liza. advisor, and he is male, and he is a village agent. Supervisor is also Julia Majara, and the village agent type is group paid agent. Save. Right, next. We're nearly finished. Let's see. Add trainer. We have Esther Nganga. Female. Village agent. Supervised by Peter Kimani. And the village agent type is group paid. Save. Okay, next one. Wilfred Keane. Male. Village agent. Supervisor is Peter Kimani. And this person is a group paid agent. Save. Right. Now we move on to the village agents. For three more for Majuli Kimarai. Majuli is the only field officer who is supervising village agents. So the trainer's name here is Lemayan Lekuton, who is a male. He's a Masai Marani and village agent. And the supervisor is Peter Kimani. Sorry, no, is Majuli Kimarai. And village agent is group paid. Notice we have 4 different categories of agent. Group paid agents, village agents that are paid by the group, village agents that are not paid, village agents you don't know if they're paid or not, and a village agent paid by the project. Okay, but I'm going to say group paid, which is by far the most common. There are 2 more to do. Okay, so let's get this in. Isina Kirinko. Isina Kirinko, female, village agent, supervised by Majuli Kimarai, and this person is a group paid agent. Save. All right, last one. Okay, now add another trainer. Here we are, and this one is Tanai Olemele, female, village agent, and supervised by Majuli Kimarai, and the village agent is group paid. Save. Right, now that means I've now completed my setup, and I've put all the, I can sort these again. Okay, let's do that. Okay, this sorts alphabetically, not by function. So we have 2 supervisors, we have 6 field officers, and we have 7 village agents, okay? Now you'll notice that these guys are registered as active. If for any reason you are changing their status, in other words, if you are changing a village agent up to being a field officer, you would make that person inactive and you would enter their name again, but as in their new status. And to render them inactive, you just click here, inactivate. So now I do that. Okay. This is inactive. And now we have finished the complete setup. I'm just going to render that person active again. There we are. Activate. Hugh? Yes. Okay.
Hugh?
Yes.
Just give us an idea of how much longer people should expect to hang on, because it's well over an hour, so just want to let people know. There's also a question from Sabina. Sabina says, what if we are using different names, which is equivalent to the mentioned, i.e. field officer, village agent, or supervisor? Are there any possibility of changing online suffix?
Yes, the answer, well, first answer to your first question is I'm through. We've been through the setup process. We've set up the system as the MIS administrator. We have set up the project as the project administrator. Now, if you want to, for example, if you want to, if I click on any of these, all right, pardon me, where are we? I have to go to project configuration, okay? And then when I go to project configure, sorry, is it project configuration? I'm sometimes a bit confused. User management, I think. No. Somewhere here. Okay. You can, in fact, change the designation. Sorry, I know why. Yes. The answer to that is a simple yes, and I'll show you how you do it. It cannot be done at the project level. It has to be done at the MIS level. Okay, so if I go in, I would go in as SMDP, online one. So it says SMDP online one at gmail.com. Then I would go to password would be what is it? UNH right. Now, okay, because we're assuming that if you have a program, all the titles you use will be the same across all projects. So you go to MIS configuration, okay, and then you go to, I believe it's trainer configuration. Here we are, okay, trainer configuration. And then it comes down here and it says, these are the trainer labels. So supervisor is a supervisor. A village agent, a field officer is a field officer. All you have to do is change the title here. Okay, village agent could be, let's say, community-based trainer. And then you save it, and then off you go. So that means that then when you come to enter data, this new title will appear in all cases. They won't be called village agents anymore. They will be called community-based trainers. Does that answer that question? Hello? Hello? Bill?
Yeah, we are here.
Good. Okay.
Sorry, I was just unmuting. This is a message also from Andrew. Hi, everyone. Please know that I will be available to support you individually through this module, set up MAS, project, trainer table, etc. If you would like, just send me a message either on Skype, andrew.majama1, or WhatsApp. And if you look in the chat box, he has a number there. Skype is better, of course. We can try WhatsApp as well. And he also leaves his email address. So please look over there in the chat box for that information from Andrew. And we'll send an email out with that information as well. There are, I don't believe, any other questions. Let me just check back. All right. Hugh, is there anything else you would like to add?
No, I don't think so, because I think that if you are working, first of all, I would suggest you review the basic document that we have on the basic document that we had on the. Let me just quickly pull it up. Let me just see if I can find it. Okay, right. Okay. Okay, module 3. Okay, here we are. We have this. I don't think you can see my screen now, but never mind. We have this document, module 3, MIS and project basics setup, roles of MIS and project administrators. Read through that really carefully. Try and understand it. And if you have any issues with any of it, just send me an email. Okay, to Hugh@VSL. No, sorry. Yes, to Hugh. That's right. To Hugh@VSLA.net, and I will try and assist you with clarification. Then what I want you to do is to move on from that to the discussion, okay? And we're going to create a discussion, which is a free-form discussion. It's intended that each student will carefully review the materials, which is the user's manual, the PowerPoint, and the webinar video, okay? So you should review all three before any attempt is made to set up your MIS. You need to be completely comfortable with the exercise before it begins. So any questions you have before you actually go ahead and do the setup, I want you to include those in an online discussion, because if you have a question, others will also have may also have the same question. Okay, so that's would be the second step, and then I would have you move on to the assignment, and I would recommend that you print out the assignment and work on it, and then over the next week or so, we want to be able to go in. I want to be able to go in and look at all your MISs, and if there are any issues related to any of those MISs, I will get in touch with you individually, and I will get in touch with you at the email address that I have created for you, so that your MIS email will also be the place to which I will direct any corrections that I think you ought to make to your MIS on setup. Okay.
All right. Well, thank you, Hugh. And just to remind everybody, this is being recorded. So if you, we appreciate your patience. It's kind of a lot of steps here. If you kind of got lost along the way, you can always refer back to the recording. I'll put that up this afternoon. And as Andrew and Hugh said, they are going to be available. But this is really kind of the real depth of the course. Once you get your MIS set up and you're able to start experimenting with it, that's where the real learning is going to begin. It's really the kind of essence of why you're taking this course. So we appreciate you. First of all, we had a really good turnout today for the webinar, and want to remind people they can go back to this recording. And if you see on your screen, this is Module 3, where it says Module 3 Webinar. That's where I'll be posting both the PowerPoint and the recording in a little while. I also want to remind everybody that a new assignment, you have to go back to Module 2 to do this, is you need to fill out a little participation document. I'm clicking on this just so you can see it. What we need people to do is to go in and just take a document and put in that document that you attended or viewed the webinar on this date, and then to go ahead and upload it, and that will tell us that you were here. And that's for people also, if you don't end up coming to the live webinar, you can look at the recording and also put the statement up there. But that helps us to fulfill our entire grading. As you can see, I'm just going to show you a behind the scenes look. This is what we get. This shows us everyone's names and everyone's participation in every single assignment. And you'll see that there is a particular place for participation in the webinar where we can grade you. So just to keep everything on track. All right.
Bill, could I just
sure.
Very quickly jump in? Can I share screen again? Because we were asked a question, can you wipe out an MIS and start again? And I really must show where that is, okay?
Sure. Yep.
Can you share screens?
Yeah.
Or do I? Okay. Sorry about this, but I should have covered it. Right. I don't know what you can see. Do share? Okay. Okay. Here we are. Share. Okay. Now tell me when you can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. If you are logged on as the MIS administrator, there is a tab which says MIS configuration. Then under here, there's a tab called MIS management. Okay. Now, if I then go down to delete MIS, it says delete MIS. All right. So this is a complicated process. So I'm clicking delete MIS. Okay. And it says you will receive an email. Okay. So now I go to, hold on a second. Let me just get this down. So now I go to the email address. Just a moment. Where are we? Okay. Oh dear. This bar at the top is really interfering. Here we are. Saving MIS. Okay, here we are. Okay. So now it says that I have to refresh this. Okay. Unfortunately, this bar of yours, Bill, is that's better. I'm moving it. Okay. So I refresh. All right. Okay. And it says, thank you for registering. You gave her, okay. All right, that's fine. So then one deleted, okay, view message, okay, message, okay. Right. Oh, don't know where it is. Okay. But it hasn't yet come in, I'm afraid. Okay. I know.
There's something at the top here that says one.
No, I've got support this minute. Just a minute. Just have a look. Thank you for registering. Thank you for registering. Thank you for registering. No, I'm sorry. It hasn't come through yet, but a message will come through which says you click on it and it will then ask you if you're sure you want to delete the MIS, and you click on yes and it will delete. Okay. I don't want us to spend a lot of time waiting for a message to come through from the server, but that's the way it works. Okay. Thanks.
All right. Okay. So Sabina, you are looking for the link to the webinar. I'll email that to you. I'm trying to find it, but I'm kind of running out of time here. So hopefully everyone has been able to view the first webinar. If you haven't, for some reason or other you can't, please let me know. Just for fun, I'll email out the YouTube link to everybody, and that way, if anybody else besides Sabina is having a problem, then you'll be able to have access to it. But please view that right away so that you don't fall behind, and do all your homework and let us know if you're having any problems. We'll be able to help you, but we have lots more to do from now until the end of November, so please keep up with it. We really appreciate how conscientious everyone is being, and make sure on those discussion conversations to talk to each other and ask each other questions on some of the assignments. And other than that, Hugh or Andrew, have anything else you need to say, or are you okay?
I'm okay.
All right.
All the best.
So everybody have a good day, a good week. We'll be posting all the rest of the dates of webinars soon, so you can put them in your calendar. And we will be looking forward to seeing you here within the next couple of weeks. Everyone take care.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Hugh. Thank you, everybody.
Hello, Limway. Drive carefully.
Bye.
Eyes on the road. Hugh can tell you about that. So
I can tell you about that. Okay. Bye-bye, guys.
Bye.
Ending recording.
Bye.